Welcome, beautiful people, to another episode of the Right Beside You podcast. I'm your host, George D., and I'm here with the beautiful Christina Nicole.
Hey, what's up?
And we just wanted to share some of our thoughts on long-distance relationships today. We were going through and thinking about what would be a good topic of discussion, what's something that would give people a little bit of value, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going through long distance relationships. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there right now with coronavirus that can't see their significant other, so it feels like a long distance relationship even if they're just around town. And we just thought we'd share some of our thoughts with you guys.
Yeah. And like George said, we know that everyone's relationship is different, and I think for us, we began our relationship as friends first, and we both told each other we don't want to be in a long-distance relationship. Which is why initially we went our separate ways, we lived our separate lives for a while until we kind of reconvened. And
the connection was strong because there were times that I would go on a date and I'd talk to Christina about it. Or she would be out on a date, and she'd call me before her date, and then she'd call me after the date, and she would tell me, I just want someone to know where I am in case I come up missing. And for some reason, I was that guy that she would call, even though we weren't together or anything like that.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually went on a date, and it went well. It wasn't bad, but there was just no connection. And afterwards, George and I talked for a very long time, and that was kind of the normal for us.
Yeah, I remember that night. You went on the date, and then you came home and you talked to me for I think we were on the phone for 2 or 3 hours that night.
Yeah. But the thing is, you lived, depending on traffic, sometimes 3 hours away. And for us, we never felt that was a realistic thing for us.
Well, especially because when I was out here going to school, we were hanging out every day. 5 o'clock, we're in the pool.
Yeah.
7:30, we're getting pokey.
Yeah.
8 o'clock, we're watching a movie or a YouTube video on making knives or something.
Or
something romantic.
The wasp. Remember the wasp hive or the beehive? You don't remember that YouTube? That was one that
yeah.
The dad
where they cut it apart?
Opened it up. That was very weird.
So when we kind of came back together after 9 months of not really hanging out, the connection was really strong. So it kind of drove us to start a relationship, even though we weren't looking to start a long distance relationship. We both said we'd never do it again.
Yeah. We both had our own experiences with not being in the physical presence of each other, and that was both important to us. However, I don't know what happened. We were just whatever, let's try to work it out.
I'll tell you what happened. Your boy's just smoother than a 30-year cognac and a Cadillac with a diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging in the scene with a gangster lean.
I knew that was a song. I was like, okay, where's
what?
It going?
I wrote that.
Oh, really?
No. So after we started, I guess after we reconnected and we were starting to spend time more often, it was great when we were together, but during the week, we would see each other for a day or two every 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, for me that was quite daunting. One, because on the weekend, say Friday after work, 5 o'clock, it took me 3 hours to get to him. And then we hung out for one full day, and then the next day on Sunday, I would have to drive 3 hours back. And it got really hard, I think, for both of us, and it definitely played kind of a role in like us transitioning to our relationship goals and where we wanted our relationship to kind of end up closer in proximity to each other. But there are definitely hard times and hard nights and sad Sundays where we didn't want to say goodbye or the weekend flew by.
And I would have to go back to LA because I'm not driving through downtown at 7 o'clock in the morning in rush hour traffic to go work for 8 hours in a hot metal shop.
Yeah.
So there were definitely absolutely nights where there was tension, and one of the big things is that for Christina and myself, we value physical affection.
Yeah, just a simple hug or even a smile or just holding hands or playing basketball or something. Us being present together was definitely important, and we later tried to figure out what worked for us. And the advice I would give anyone going through something similar in a long distance relationship for whatever reason would be, one, to be intentional about your schedules and them aligning, because we both had our jobs, we both ate dinner at separate times, but every night we were intentional about either FaceTiming each other.
Even if it was for 15 to 20 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. So
sometimes it was longer.
Yes.
Sometimes it was too long.
Yes.
Because someone would keep me up way past my bedtime.
Or, just kind of scheduling, hey, I'm going to eat dinner around this time and I'll eat dinner with you via FaceTime. Thank you for technology and all the FaceTiming apparatus.
FaceTime definitely made it easier, even though it's still not the same.
Definitely.
But it definitely made it easier. I think one of the things that we were thankful for, though, is the fact that we were close enough to where we could still hang out every weekend. It wasn't a total imposition.
Yeah.
I could come up here, I could make it here in an hour and 15 minutes on first thing Saturday morning or late on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. And then we have all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And then I can head back and, Sunday evening. Mm-hmm. And, we made it work, but it definitely took effort. It took communication. And one of the upsides is that it really builds your problem solving skills to a certain degree, because you can't be in two places at one time and you have to kind of figure out how to work together to make it happen. We got to a point where, because she doesn't like to drive, we found a place where she could park her car for the weekend, and then she would only have to drive halfway. And I would meet her halfway, pick her up, and then so that made it easier for her to come and see me, so that it wasn't always me having to come see her.
Right.
And I think you just have to find little things like that work for you. And then at some point, I changed jobs. My new job was closer because I was now working in downtown LA as opposed to the far end of LA. So I was already halfway there, or a third of the way there. So on Friday after work, instead of having to wait until 7 or 8 o'clock to get here at 10, I got off at 3:30 and I could be here by 5. Yeah. So that's an additional 5 hours. And then also because of that, I could leave from her house and go straight to work. So, there were lifestyle changes that we made along the way, and for the better.
Yeah. And I think in addition to that, that was a great point. I definitely think that in addition to looking forward to every weekend and spending those quality times together, the midweek date night that we began to implement was really a game changer for me personally, because I could then look forward to Wednesday nights at the gym playing basketball, or I think we met up for bowling, or our go-to sushi night,
Pokey
night, Pokey 30 night. Those were all really cool. Like
midweek.
Yeah, breaking up the monotony of going to work every day and just going home and talking to each other on the phone. We actually got to see each other, hug each other, hang out, and
by doing that, that helped us to set small goals. So instead of on Sunday being like, oh, I'm not going to see you for 5 or 6 days. Now it's, I'll see you in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you in a couple days.
And that was more manageable because, like, oh, Monday, Tuesday, we attacked those days, got them over with. Then Wednesday, I'm like, hey, I can see you tonight. We're going to grub on some sushi.
So there's definitely ways to make it work. And I know for us, we weren't bi-coastal and we weren't jet setters, so it's not going to be the same for everyone. Mm-hmm. But if you want it to work, you can find a way to make it work, but it will require effort on both ends, because it can't just be one person putting in all the work.
That's true. And I have to commend George, because I do not like driving, and especially long distances. Me being in the car behind the wheel for 3 hours is super daunting, and I get frustrated when there's traffic. One time I got lost, and I was already on the road.
She ended up in the next county.
Yeah, and because, I'm not familiar with the area, and they shut down a few roads and a few off-ramps, and I had no idea where I was at. And I think, George, you came to meet me where I was at, and then we drove back to the house together. And that was super helpful. And, I'm a woman, so I have to go to the restroom sometimes. And
sometimes Mother Nature plays with your mind.
Yeah, or Auntie Flo comes to visit.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
I don't know her like that.
Well, you're missing out.
I don't have that auntie.
You don't have that auntie? Okay, well. What would you say, George, was the hardest part of the 2 years that we were in a long-distance relationship?
For me, I think it was just the time I spent in my car.
Yeah.
I mean, I love driving. I love cars. I don't want to spend 40 hours a week in a car.
Yeah. So I think that leads us into some of our goals, like short-term and long-term. We already discussed a little bit about our short-term goals, which were kind of like implementing the midweek date nights. But our long-term, like our year, our 2-year, our 3-year goals were similar in regards to, okay, let's move closer to each other, or...
And a lot of that hinged on me because someone was a big baller and had already purchased a home.
Yeah, and that was another thing, because we're both very rooted in our places of living, in our work, in our jobs, in our careers, and being just kind of grounded and rooted in that. There wasn't really a big window of, I guess, change, imminent change.
Yeah. But for me, I was able to... My goal had been to get to work for the city of LA, which put me closer. And then once I got there, I was able to promote, and I was able to move up to the point where I could afford to live on my own, and it was feasible for me to move out and move closer and not have to eat top ramen every night.
Right.
And so once I reached that goal of moving up the ladder high enough to where I was making the money that I wanted to make and the money that I felt I needed to make in order to really be independent, it made it easier because, all right, now I'm in a position to where I can pick where I want to be. I can move somewhere else, and I can make it work, and it's on me. So we're able to kind of close that gap to where now where I live is 15 minutes from her job, 25 minutes from her house, 35 minutes to an hour and a half from my job, depending on traffic. And it definitely took perseverance. It took compromise. It took understanding. It took effort. It took effort. It took effort.
What was that last thing you said?
I believe that I said that it took a little bit of effort.
Yeah. And definitely communication, because George and I kind of operate on different levels in the sense of I'm such a planner and he kind of just...
No plan zone.
Yeah. We had to create some sort of communication, I guess, device where in our calendars we would share our calendars and say, hey, this weekend we have this, next weekend we have this, because we can't be two places at the same time. And that was something that was difficult for us in just trying to not necessarily please everyone, but just try to be, you know,
active in our families,
active in our friends and families. Yeah. And that's what's important to both of us, just maintaining those relationships with the people that we love the most. And sometimes we weren't able to show up for everyone at once. You know, we couldn't be in LA and Hawaii and in Mexico and in the IE and in San Diego every single weekend or in one weekend at the same time. Yeah. Although there were times where we were driving 2-3 hours in one day one way, and then 2-3 hours
and turning around and coming back.
Exactly, back. And us living 2 hours away from each other, that was just not realistic to uphold and to maintain. So we had to kind of navigate around, you know, just what was important to us and, you know, the people that were important in our lives. And it was hard at times because I missed out on family events and functions, and sometimes, you know, it was hard to say, hey, I can't make it last minute. If you know, you just told me yesterday that we're having this event and I can't make it.
Yeah.
You know, it was very hard.
And then sometimes people get salty with you. They're like, oh, how come you're not coming? And it's like, dude, you just told me about it. I already made plans.
Yeah, that was very challenging. So just being on the same page as far as, all right, what do we want to do this weekend? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like we're trying to build our relationship and we're trying to grow together. And we wanted to spend time together on the weekends. And, all right, what are you trying to accomplish this weekend? What am I trying to accomplish? And then together, what do we want to do? You know, we're both very active people, and we like, you know, snowboarding, and we like going to the beach, and we like paddleboarding and kayaking, and George likes drinking. And
what?
I love traveling. I love experiencing new cultures, and I love just being fully immersed in just all things travel. And, you know, sometimes it takes compromise. Say, hey, we went to so-and-so's birthday party that last weekend. This weekend, can we do this? And it was hard a lot of times to try to navigate through that. But I think it ended up helping us in the end, kind of building our communication and our planning skills. And I think that we will utilize throughout our entire relationship and our entire future. And especially, you know, not trying to think too much or too far into the future, but, you know, when you have kids, you have to plan for who's going to pick up so-and-so and who's going to take so-and-so to the baseball game or soccer games or ballet recitals or whatever, you know, like I'm always thinking about those types of things. So.
Yeah, and I think it helped build the relationship on a more substantial level, in the sense that it wasn't just, oh, it's a physical attraction, I'm gonna rub up on you. it was, we actually had to talk to each other.
Yeah, we had to dig deep into emotions, right, George? We love talking about that.
I'm shaking my head for those of you listening.
Yeah, there were times where, sometimes it's hard to express emotionally what you're going through or experiencing. Sometimes we were so exhausted or tired, and, one person wanted to sleep and the other person had a really bad day and needed to talk, i.e. me, and it was hard to I couldn't see George, so I just thought, yo, I haven't talked to you all day. Why do you not want to talk to me?
You don't love me.
I
don't care. I need affection.
Yeah, sometimes I would just have a really tough day at work, and I would just want a hug. And I don't know if you guys know, but George gives the most amazing hugs
for $5.99 a piece
ever. And I knew very early on that when he first gave me a hug, I was like, ooh, I wish I could just put these hugs in my pocket for a rainy day.
I was unaware you could put hugs in your pocket.
I don't know. That I literally was just like, I could live with these hugs for the rest of my life, I guess. For a lack of better words.
Hugs, not thugs.
Hugs.
Not thugs.
How many of us have them? Hugs. Ones we can depend on.
Let's
Give
get
me
hugs.
Say what? How many of us have them? Hugs, not drugs. Ones we can depend on. George's hugs.
Every day. And some people hug them in the wrong way.
Huh.
All right, that's enough.
I thought you were going to go on longer.
Nah, I don't have it in me today.
He's a little tired because of work.
How many of us have it? Work. So I think that the takeaway is that to a certain degree, we beat the odds. Because some statistics I've seen have said that 95% of long distance relationships don't work.
Yeah.
So there has to be something other than just the physical that is the glue to the relationship. And I think that's where the effort, the intention, the FaceTime, the midweek dates, the phone calls, the late night arguments every once in a while. It all plays into making it work, because it does require work.
Yes.
It's not all just lollipops and gumdrops. It, you're gonna have to put some sweat in. It's like that six pack that I always get. I have to be in the gym doing crunches and eating salads and pears.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It does take effort, and it takes two individuals who are in it to win it. Meaning, we're both making the decision that, hey, we feel like there's something special here in each other, and also, I really think that we have a great relationship, and I really think highly of this individual, and I think it's worth it. And for me, there were times where I questioned that, and I said, is this worth it? And every single time the answer was yes. He is worth it. I am worth it. We are worth it.
We is worth it.
We are worth it. So I think at the end of the day, it worked out, and I'm glad that we persevered through that season of our life, those 2 years in which we were practicing, quote unquote, that long distance.
We were practicing social distancing before it was cool.
Bam! Check it out. And now we are quarantined together.
So yeah, I would say as long as you can see, even if you can't see a light at the end of the tunnel, if you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, then keep pushing, especially if you think it's worth it, if your partner thinks it's worth it.
Yeah.
It requires a ton of trust.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who are going to use that distance to be unfaithful. There's going to be people who use that distance to try to take advantage of the other person, whether it's emotionally, financially. Oh, just send me some money for a plane ticket. I need this, I need that. Oh, if you love me, you do this since you're not here. You really have to weigh the value of the relationship for you, because not every relationship is worth it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to cut your losses. God knows I've had to cut my losses before. I cut them. But I think that if you have a partner who is willing to work and put in the effort with you, and you set small goals and you're intentional, and you build a foundation of trust, you don't give them a reason to, you don't give them a reason to question your loyalty or your honesty. You don't tell them, oh, I'm going to bed, and then check in at the club on Facebook. That's stupid. That's how you get caught up. Or so I heard.
So would you say you just didn't check in and you would do that?
Huh? But, focus on your communication, focus on your relationship, be intentional, set those goals, and have a plan or a strategy of how you're going to have an end game. Because if it's just, oh, we're long distance and that's just what's going to be forever, then that may not be a relationship that's going to work. But if you have an end goal and you say, all right, by this time, if everything goes to plan, I will be in a position to where we're not long distance anymore, then that's what you're working towards. You have to have something that you're working towards, because if you're just going through the motions, there's not a point there either.
Yeah,
you're just tying yourself down to.
If you're just a hamster spinning in a wheel and you're not going anywhere, then you kind of question, like, are we moving forward, or are we stagnant, and are we complacent in our relationship? And that's where you lead into those, tensions and those arguments, when it's like, I feel like we're just complacent and I feel like we're stagnant. And I think what helped us is that we were constantly checking in, like, okay, what are your individual goals? What are our relationship goals? And, where are we headed individually and together? Because in a relationship, you want to support your partner as well. There were a few things that George wanted to accomplish, and there are a few things that I wanted to accomplish or already accomplished, and we supported each other in those realms of accomplishments as an individual, because there's nothing better than seeing your person accomplish those goals and knowing that you were in their corner cheering them on. And I know that there were a few times when I felt like I won and we were both winning, because George either got a promotion or a new job or moved into his own place, and we celebrated those like they were big accomplishments. And I think once we got there, it was like, wow, this was worth it. All those lonely nights, quote unquote, it was worth it. And I am very proud of us individually and us together as a team, because it does take a team effort. And I think for anyone who is questioning, whether or not it's worth it, like as a person, as for me, like that female intuition, if you are receiving that effort from your partner. And if you have to question, their trust or loyalty in any way, then maybe you should just rethink that relationship entirely.
Oh, he with that?
Uh-huh. Because I think I was in a season in my life where, I'm never trying to play games, but there are people who I've, was in relationship in the past who they were fickle, or they didn't know what they wanted, or they were too busy in the club or popping bottles, or they were trying to have, a squad of females. And I don't share.
I believe the term is a roster.
Roster, squad, team.
Or so I've heard.
Lineup, whatever the case may be. If you shooting up multiple clubs, then I am not the partner for you, because I am loyal. I am a one woman, one man type of situation. And
so are you interested in an entanglement? That'll be a conversation for another day.
No entanglements for me. It's either we're doing life together 100%, we're in, or we're not doing life together. And it's simple. I come from having two parents in the household and seeing that my entire life. My parents have been together, shout out to them, for 40 plus years. And that's important to me. And I think with George, he too shares those same experiences. And that's a privilege. And for me, I want that for myself in my relationship, and also for my family and for my kids. And I'm not trying to play games with anyone's feelings. I'm not leading anyone on. It's like we're either exclusive and we're in this committed, or we're not. I got to know.
But I think that's a good final thought.
Yeah.
Is if you got to be in it to win it, especially in a long distance relationship.
Yes.
So if you're not in it to win it, if you're not all in, get out.
Go hard or go home.
So do you have a lyric of the day that you'd like to share with the people?
I think so. Ooh. This is from the poet, great philosopher at Danielle Classy. She says, "The day you plant the seed is not the day you reap the harvest. Be patient."
That is some good relationship advice, some good financial advice, and some good life advice. Well, I think we can close on that. Thank you once again for listening to the Right Beside You podcast. Because at the end of the day,
I'm not above you.
I'm not below you. I'm right beside you. Cheers. Never miss an episode by subscribing on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.